All right.
All right, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Chuck Allen in the house.
So we're streaming on RCO.
Yeah, we're streaming in RCO, man.
Good afternoon, RCO.
Ready to go. Introduce yourself, Chuck. Who are you?
Chuck Allen with Rio Blanco Roofing and Restoration in San Antonio, Texas.
Cool, man.
I know a lot of the guys here on the group already, but anybody that I don't know, it's a pleasure to speak with you today.
All right, Chuck, what we're going to do, man, is I'll ask you some questions and you'll give me the transparency that you always do.
Okay.
We'll try to drop some gold nuggets for the guys that'll be watching, gals and guys that'll be watching, and then we'll see if there's any questions or any comments along the way, and we'll address those as we can. But the whole idea here is for people to understand who you are. And as I've been saying for a while, the greatness of Chuck Allen is about to pop out. So let's go ahead and do it today.
Let's do it today. I'm ready.
Okay, Chuck, you didn't start in roofing. Nobody goes to college, wants to be a roofing contractor. When I grew up, Mom, I'm going to go into roofing. So how did you get into this crazy world of roofing? Tell us.
Well, back 23 years ago, I was working as a crane operator for a drywall company. And I was basically loading all the sheetrock into new construction. And I one day got hurt on a job and I got a hernia. And I decided at that point that I didn't want to do drywall anymore. So I went across the street to a roofing supply company and I put in a job application. And here we are 22 and a half years later. It just drew me in. I started off as a roofing supply guy and have kind of gone through all the different channels in this industry. But it just kind of happened as a fluke, I guess.
So you went into roofing supply business. You were actually dealing with contractors.
Yes, for 12 years, I was a delivery driver. I did the rooftop deliveries and the unloads for ground drops and things like that. And I went from that to Charlotte, North Carolina, where they gave me an opportunity to open a branch and manage it for a couple years. That was fun, but I didn't like being inside all the time. So I came out and decided to move to College Station, Texas on a whim. And I started working there with a company. I was there for 6 years. And back in January, got the opportunity to come down here to San Antonio and do this Rio Blanco.
All right, man. So let's back up. Let's go back to your days in the supply house.
Good times.
What can you tell us about what actually happens in a supply house that roofing contractors would be surprised actually happens in a supply house?
Well, at this point, I'm sure a lot of us have seen everything. So there's not a whole lot of surprises, but believe it or not, a lot of the people in the supply houses really do care. A lot of the belief would be that it's just, every man for himself. But the truth of the matter is that they do care a lot. This is a tight-knit community from every angle that you come at it. And truth of the matter is, a lot of these companies aren't making these huge margins that we all would assume that they are. I was an independent distributor, so we really had to outservice everybody because my pricing was high. And, that was kind of my entry into it. I never worked for a major corporation, but as someone that had to fight for every customer that I had, I learned a lot about how to service people and how to keep customers at a higher price point.
I know it was a long time ago, but what do you think the margins were in the independent side of distribution?
Oh, they were small, 10, 12% on some products.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things we were able to get deals on. Nails and things like that were a little bit higher, but you weren't making a lot. It was based on volume, and even then, it was not everything that you would imagine.
Mm-hmm. What are the primary costs? Because you ran a branch for the supply house. What are the primary costs that you had to account for outside of material costs?
Well, obviously, we had guys driving around town and loaded down trucks. Insurance was a huge expense. Equipment was huge. As an independent, we had to kind of focus on making large buys at one time rather than being able to space them out. So at one point, I had 5 facilities in Charlotte, and we were just a small single unit company, but we would have to go out and make those huge $1 million purchases so we could get competitive pricing. So a lot of that stuff that you don't take into account really was what, probably kept us from ever getting huge.
So you're sitting there on $1 million worth of inventory, and you've got to move it, and you've got to move it at a margin that you can't go below. So how do you compete with the big boys? How are you competing with ABC Supply? Back then, I don't know who the big player was in your area, but how did you compete with them?
Well, it was definitely ABC. They had a branch about a mile from mine. And what I had to do was basically be the guy that would go out and deliver felt paper out of the back of my little Hyundai Elantra, or drop 2 or 3 pieces of ridge vent at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, 50 miles from my home. Just had to outservice everybody. Really, that was how we kept ourselves afloat. And, luckily I was able to do that and had quite a few really good clients that we were able to work with. But it was just 100% based on our service and our work rate.
How did you know a client was good? What's a good client for an independent distributor?
A good client for an independent distributor is someone that calls you every day and doesn't, fly the coop when they get a $3 a break on a square of shingles from ABC or one of the bigger boys. And I had several really nice customers that felt unappreciated by the larger companies. So we were able to kind of form a good bond with those guys. And that was really how I would define my good customers, was the guys that stuck with us.
Did your customers ever try to twist your arm on pricing or get better rebates or?
Oh, constantly. And, I did everything I could. I went to bat for them. I would be the distribution guy that would do all their rebates for them. I'd go try to get, any kind of breaks I could for my good clients. And we did pretty well with that. I had a good way with some of my manufacturers to, work with me. They knew what we were up against, and they respected that. And, the David versus Goliath type deal. But they really, some of the brands I worked with over the years are ones that I still work with today for that very reason.
So who were the good manufacturer reps? Who would work with you?
Atlas has been good to me since the day they came into my life, which was about 16 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They were always willing to do anything they could to help, to keep us competitive in the market. At that point, they weren't in a large portion of the big supply companies. So I kind of had a purple cow type mentality. We had something that the other guys didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we feature. Here's why we feature it. And they appreciated that. They took everything that we ever asked into account and did a good job taking care of me. And another one was Certainty. Believe it or not, Certainty.
Really?
They really had some wonderful reps. It's changed a little bit over the years, especially since I've been here in Texas. But I had a couple of Certainty reps that would show up in my office at least once a week just to, make sure things were going well, see what they could do to help us out. And I never forgot that. That's why I've always been loyal to Atlas. I sell Atlas down here now almost exclusively. And it's because of that relationship I've had with them for a decade and a half.
Their product has evolved a lot since they've gone through. They had they kept the Atlanta market alive for a couple of years with those Atlas chalets. And,
absolutely.
But their products evolved. Can you talk a little bit why you're moving so much Atlas now?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're totally right, Mike. They have evolved so much in the last, say, 8 to 10 years. Atlas had a very bad reputation there for a while, as you're well aware, and I'm sure everybody else is. The one thing that I admired about them is that they rolled up their sleeves and they went to work to try and take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone out of their way. They've really changed the entire way that they do their manufacturing. The shingles have changed and evolved. They brought in some name recognition with Scotchgard, which has been a tremendous impact for their market share. And the one thing about them, like I said, they always would take into account the input that they would ask us for. A lot of companies ask you what they could do to improve, and then they just kind of shake it off and continue what they're doing. But Atlas is the one that has always worked hard to continue to improve and continue to evolve. And it's at the point now where I believe they're the best product in the market.
Wow. Strong statement from the great Chuck Allen.
We're putting an Atlas roof on right now as we speak.
Okay, man. So what's your favorite Atlas product?
I like the Pinnacle myself, but I also really do like their Stormmaster line. They've gone above and beyond with their polymer modified lines. and it's really a stellar shingle. It's almost a self-healing product. The granule adhesion is great, which was an issue that Atlas had many years back. They would lose granules pretty quickly.
Right.
Now it's really improved. The fact that you can basically put a full system together for a homeowner and offer an extended warranty without having to be a platinum certified or pay extra money to get a credential is really huge. That separates them in the marketplace. So it's good working with them. And basically, I'd say all their shingles are great. 3 tabs are basically the same across the board, but everything else they offer is really stellar.
So if you're going in with an Atlas and you're going in against somebody that is GAF or Owens Corning, I'll get to your selling prowess here in a minute, but what's the angle? How are you going in on that?
It's going to be the value. It's going to be the extended warranty with the full system, and the Scotchgard is really the biggest selling point with Atlas versus everybody else in our market. I always equate it to going out and buying a brand new pair of shoes that never get dirty. And
why is the Scotchgard such a big deal? I mean, I understand people don't want black streaks on their roof, but why is that such a big deal?
Well, most people don't realize it's a big deal until you show it to them, and you take them out in their front yard and say, "Hey, these streaks on your roof." You point it out to them, and then all of a sudden they realize they've got streaks on the roof and they don't like it. And it's very easy to say, "Hey, look, I've got the solution for that problem," even though you didn't know it was a big problem. I've got the solution for it, and just the name recognition of Scotchgard is huge. Everybody knows something that's got Scotchgard on it.
Well, cool, man. Let's take a break. I'm going to read through what the comments that are going on in the Facebook group, and we'll see if anybody has anything to say. If not, we'll continue the interview with the great Chuck Allen. Here
awesome.
We go. All right. Kevin Burrell says, Chuck.
What's going on, Kevin?
He interviewed a Buckeye fan today.
Hey, doesn't get any better than that, right?
What are they ranked now? Are they
third?
Third?
Which I think is pretty reasonable at this point in time.
Right. OU should be above them, though, right?
It depends. Depends on your definition of above.
Okay, Hunter Ballou, what's up? Sam Troyer, hey. Thomas, what's up? What's up, Chuck? Kevin says it pays the bills, talking about Atlas. Joseph, Kevin's watching. Ben Houston's watching. Brad's watching. Greg is watching. Emil Lopez is watching. Joseph Cosell says, Chuck, you're my hero.
Well, coming from my hero, that means a lot.
All right. So if you're watching this and we got the great Chuck Allen on here and you want to ask questions, leave it in the comments box. We'll break periodically and we'll get questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to interview and ask the questions that I want to ask. All right. So you said that on a whim, let's leave the whole supply house days behind. Obviously, you got some unique perspective and understanding of how that side of the business works, and you're soft on them. So you don't like hitting them too hard, do you, Chuck?
No, not really.
Okay, so let's leave that. How did you get to Texas? What was the deal there?
Well, it's crazy. I was just about done with my roofing supply deal. I had one of my really good clients in Charlotte reach out to me and ask me if I wanted to start a company for him in New Orleans.
Okay.
So I just said, hey, let me go see what New Orleans is all about, and I'll get back with you in a couple of days. I went down to New Orleans, and about 2 or 3 hours in, I realized it's a great place to visit, but I didn't think I wanted to live there permanently. So at that point, my dad lived in College Station, Texas, and I was halfway there. So I just said, hey, I'm going to drive down to Texas for a day or two, kind of see what's going on, come back to Charlotte and figure out what I'm going to do with my life. Well, the second day I was in College Station, I was standing in line at a Chinese buffet, and I met a guy that I ended up going to work for down there for a few years, and that's kind of how it all started. Most of my success happens at the Chinese buffet.
So Chuck's at the Chinese buffet, and this guy strikes up a conversation with you. This is interesting. And I know that you're a talker. So anybody that'll talk to you, Chuck, you'll talk to them. You're great at engaging people, and you're really good at making friends. But so how did this conversation start?
I think I was wearing a manufacturer's branded shirt or something at that point, and it just kind of started from, hey, Certainty or Atlas, whatever I was wearing. I have a roofing company here, and I just kind of started spilling the beans on what I was doing. And we just kind of talked for a couple minutes, and I kind of walked away and let it go. But then a day or two later, the same gentleman called me back and said, hey, if you'd like to come down here for any reason, my company's growing and we'd love to have you if you'd like to come. So that's really what happened. I met a stranger in a Chinese buffet, and next thing you know, I'm relocating halfway across the country just to try something new.
Okay, so your dad's in College Station. The guy calls you back. He must have taken your phone number, or you given him a business card or something?
Yeah, he took my phone number, and then I actually called him back just to kind of, say hi and thank him for the conversation. And it just, one thing led to another. Next thing you know, I was sitting in the office doing an interview, and a week later I was on board.
See, I know this is a hot topic, and I know people are paying attention here because recruiting sales reps happens to be one of your advanced ninja skills. Folks may not know that about you, but you're really good at finding, developing, and training salespeople. And so it's interesting that you were recruited in a Chinese buffet line off a business card.
Yeah, well, if you know me well enough, it's not that out of character to be in a Chinese buffet line. So, like I said, most of my good stuff happens somewhere in line at a restaurant.
What's your favorite Chinese food?
Sesame chicken by far.
Oh man, sesame chicken. The little seeds don't get in your teeth?
Nah, heck, I've got enough gaps in my teeth at this point in my age that doesn't bother me anymore.
Okay, so you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but you go to work for this guy. And what's that process like? What's the onboarding like? I mean, this is the first time you onboarded with somebody. How did you onboard? What did he do? Was it different? Was it kind of the industry standard? You've been around it long enough to know what the industry standard is. Was it good? Was it bad? I mean, what happened?
It actually was really good. In hindsight, my training that I got was really excellent. I was able to go out and kind of grow and make some mistakes and develop my personal.
How do you define excellent training? How is that being defined?
Well, they didn't just throw me a stack of business cards and a box of contracts and say, go out and do it. There were some guys that actually trained with me, that took me out in the field, that took me on sales calls, kind of walked me through. We did role playing and things like that. Obviously, that doesn't always prepare you for everything.
You were in the truck with them.
Yeah, exactly. I was in the truck. I was able to ride around. And at that point, I knew a lot about product, but I didn't know a lot about sales. So it was really a beneficial couple months for me to be able to ride with people that had been doing it and really learn some of the tricks of the trade that way.
Yeah. So how long did it take you before they turned you loose on your own, Chuck?
Well, it's kind of funny. I sold my first roof on my own about 6 days in.
Oh, wow.
And it was because of the location of the job. I looked back and realized it was pretty far from where we were at, about an hour and a half drive. So I just think really nobody wanted to ride an hour and a half with me out there to do it. So basically sent me out. I took care of the deal. And that was the beginning right there.
Wow. Okay. So you sold your first deal. Then do you remember your second deal?
My second deal came a long, long way after the first one. I went through some struggles there for a little while, realized I wasn't quite prepared. So I started training again a little bit, got more comfortable with the situation. My second one was probably 5 or 6 weeks after that first deal. So there was a brief period where I wondered if I was ever going to eat again or, have a roof over my own head. But, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. Those failures and that learning really helped me get to where I'm at now.
Looking back on that time, is there anything that you'd do different now, or anything else that did you just have to go for the beat down, or is there anything that would have accelerated it?
Yeah, there's a lot of value in getting beat down, and it takes a lot of resilience to get back up. There was a period where about a year in, we decided to go work a storm in Amarillo, Texas.
Okay.
And I went 2 months without selling a job.
Oh, dang.
I came back. I had $10 to my name. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was actually on the verge of being canned from my job because I wasn't performing. And at that point, I had to reevaluate everything. I went home to Ohio to visit my mom, and I ended up staying there for about 10 months. And in that 10-month period is when I really realized what I needed to work on as far as my salesmanship was concerned. I needed to focus on my weaknesses. And that's really the turning point of my entire life. I focused very strongly on my weaknesses and was very honest. And that honesty, it was tough to swallow, but at the end, I think that was probably the most valuable 10 months of my life.
So a lot of guys watching here, we'll take a break here in a second, but a lot of guys are watching this and they're like, I don't know if I could go 10 months without making something happen. And I certainly wouldn't stay with a sales rep for 10 months and hope that they turn it around. So what did you learn in those 10 months? I mean, what were your weaknesses? What did you have to improve?
In those 10 months, I did actually leave the company, and I went back to roofing supply in Columbus, Ohio for the 10 months I was gone. And I knew that that's not what I wanted to do, because if I'd wanted to do that, I would have never left it, years earlier. But I just realized I needed to learn how to sell myself rather than selling, the product and kind of being robotic with my presentation. And the first day I came back after that 10 months, I was very honored that they let me come back, for one, because I hadn't performed at a level that would have justified it. So I always felt like that was really a key component of my entire life and my development. But I learned how to talk to people a little bit more calmly, how to kind of illustrate who I am versus what our product is. And those 10 months really taught me a lot. I learned a lot from watching your videos. I followed a lot of different podcasts. I read a lot of books, and that was right about the time that roofing salesman videos were coming out. So you've been instrumental in my career for a long time, Mike. I appreciate that.
Oh, Chuck, man, it's an honor, dude. Guys like you, what a great honor, man, to be able to work with you. Thank you. That's very kind of you. So what was it about your presentation that changed? You said you went from a product focus to being more focused on selling you. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I did was I cut it down from about 45 minutes to about 18 to 20 minutes. And at this point in my life, I realize 18 to 20 is probably still rambling on more than you need to. But cutting what I had previously in half was really getting me a lot more attention. People weren't losing their focus and, looking at their watch and seeing what else is going on. They were engaged with the conversation. They could sense the enthusiasm that I have. And I still have that enthusiasm to this day, for sure.
Absolutely, man.
Nobody wants to hear all the technical stuff. Nobody really at the end of the day cares what kind of felt paper you're using or how many nails you're putting on a shingle. They want a shingle that's going to look good. They want their house to gain value, and they want to work with someone that they know really wants to work with them.
Now, wait a second. You're not telling me that you put on a crappy roof, are you?
Never. I've never put on a crappy roof, but I wouldn't focus so much on, all the features and benefits of the shingle that most people don't care about. I'd focus more on just the feeling that you would get from putting that brand new roof on your house. You walk outside, you get pride, you say, hey, this is the best looking roof on the block, and Chuck helped me do it.
I mean, people don't wake up in the morning saying, man, I need some fiberglass mats slathered in asphalt and sprinkled with granules. Nobody's buying roofs.
Not too many, that's for sure.
What are they buying, Chuck?
They're buying the feeling. People want to have pride in their home. They want to be able to go outside and say, look at this. It's absolutely beautiful. I can't think of anybody I know that points to a house that doesn't look real nice and says, that's mine. I'm so happy that that's mine. So people buy the feeling. They buy the emotion that you bring to the table when you talk to them. And enthusiasm has always been my thing. So I would try to get people really excited about the experience rather than the actual product itself.
Well, I'm going to check the comments here in a second, but I think it's important everybody understands. You accelerated out of that hole pretty quickly. You went to be a multi-million-dollar producer, annual producer, and you did that for several years before you jumped into this opportunity where you're at now, where you own the Rio Blanco experience. I mean, you are the man behind the Rio Blanco. Let's check the messages and see what's going on here, okay?
All right.
All right. Let's see. Chuck. Thomas wants to know, Chuck, what's been your biggest challenge breaking open a new market? It's a good question.
Well, that's a great question. It's just been, the unexpected and the unknown has been very exciting to me, but I don't want to sound overly confident, but it's actually, it's taken off a lot quicker than I'd anticipated. I was thinking we were going to have at least a good year of building before we'd start seeing any results. The results are starting to come in pretty quickly. I got my team on board, and I think the biggest key has been hiring people that excelled and have wanted to develop at a rapid rate. It's been interesting though. I've learned a lot about the market here in San Antonio. We know where we do want to work and where we don't want to work, and that's really been the big thing, is trying to get ourselves into the areas of town where we can make the most money and, you know, do the highest quality work rather than being just a price-driven commodity.
Yeah. San Antonio is a tough market, man. A lot of people go into San Antonio thinking they're going to make a lot of money after the storms, and they end up getting blown out. What is the niche? I mean, what is the market? Who are you going after in San Antonio? Because like you said, you can't chase everybody.
Yeah.
How would you describe your ideal prospects in San Antonio that have allowed you to scale much more quickly than most people have been able to scale? Not to mention scaling in San Antonio, which is almost impossible to do. Can you talk to us about that? Maybe not your specific ones, but talk to us about the importance of finding your niche there.
Well, I've actually got a couple specifics. When I first got here back in April, we had a hailstorm that came through my second week in town.
Okay.
Obviously, I was not prepared. It was an empty building, and I was the only person on the staff at Rio Blanco. But I got a call from a guy who called me on a Saturday evening. He just found the number online, called us on Saturday evening, and I answered the phone. And he was really surprised, first and foremost, that I actually answered it. And I told him I'd be out Sunday morning to meet with him and see what we could do to take care of his roof. And this was in a gated community. It was a just about $1 million home. Very, very nice area of town I wanted to be in. So I hustled really well. I earned that guy's trust, and we did his roof. Since that, in mid-April, this gentleman has given me 7 leads. I just met him today and picked up the final check for one of his 12 rental properties that he has in town. We did the job for him last week. He says, "Hey, Chuck, you're my roofer. I appreciate the way you do things. You gave me a great system. Your crew was stellar. They were here on time. They were professional. And you walked me through the entire process." So guys like that, he had a $7,500 deductible, and I was the only person that was demanding that he pay the deductible, quite frankly. He respected that I wasn't going to cut corners on his job and that we were going to do things legitimately. So those are the kind of guys I'm looking to work with. We're actually doing a repeat business roof today for a guy that was my 3rd customer. So developing those relationships has been huge for me. I always want to work with people that can, you know, introduce me to someone else that can open another opportunity. So that's been huge for us. We've worked with a lot of insurance agencies here locally, gone in and presented what we do. And I'm just trying to build a relationship so we can, you know, sell to one who sells to many. It's a lot easier to sell to one person that's got 300 roofs under their umbrella than 300 people with one.
Man, that's the truth. You got out of selling pretty quickly as you scaled your team, and yet your team does a really good job of pulling referrals and getting additional work from people. First of all, not everybody does that. I don't know why. Maybe it's a lack of understanding. Maybe they haven't been through the right kind of training. But how is it that you're able to pull so many you can take one, Chuck, and I've known this about you for a long time. You take one deal and you turn it into multiples. Is that something that you learned to do? Is that something you went, you know, what happened?
I think it's a combination. Obviously, you're never going to get multiple deals if you don't ask for them. So you strive to deliver a 5-star experience to the homeowner. And after that's done and they're standing in the front yard smiling with you and thrilled about the roof, ask them, is there anybody else I can help bring this experience to? And most of my clients have been, you know, referral opportunities for the last several years I've been doing this. The one thing I'm really proud about my sales team is that they are stellar at seeking out opportunities and then multiplying them. Just in our brief time here, I've got several repeat business projects that we've done for both of my sales reps. And like you said, I got out of selling pretty quick. I haven't sold a roof myself in about 4 months now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice. It's very rewarding to see my team go out and do it. They have the same dedication and the same enthusiasm. So it's been great, but that's just, the number one rule in selling is if you don't ask for it, you're never going to get it. So I ask every customer for a referral, and a lot of them have been really good to take care of it for me.
Yeah, because generating leads in San Antonio, you used to be able to generate a lead on Google for 50, $75. And Home Advisor used to sell them for $75. There was a day when Home Advisor sold leads for $75, but they'd sell them to 4 or 5 different individuals. When you're trying to develop them on your own, and this is something that I work with Clint and JoJo on, leads in San Antonio are expensive, man. I mean, they're not $100, they're not $200, they're not even $500 to generate one good qualified lead. You're almost talking 4 digits. And so ability to transfer one deal into multiple deals is what separates the big boys from, the also rans, the people that are picking up scraps. You really have to work your way up into the top end of the market, don't you?
Absolutely. That's the case in every market. Here in San Antonio, it's no different. This is a huge town. There are probably, goodness, I don't even know how many roofing companies. To be quite honest, I don't pay much attention. I always just focus on what we're doing. But I know there are more than a handful of roofing contractors here in town that we compete with. And I focus on what we do. And if we do our job the right way, we're going to get those deals because we are the best and we're going to give the customer the best experience.
I mean, it's almost to the place where you can't afford to take the one-off deals. The people that want to negotiate want a retail price because they're not going to multiply, they're not going to turn into other deals, and they're pulling your time, the opportunity cost of your time. If you could be doing A and making X amount of dollars, or if you do B and you make, a third of that, you can't afford to do B. You really have to do A, and you have to concentrate on the people where your money multiplies. Has that been difficult for you to teach your guys how to walk away from bad deals? I mean, how did you put that into them? Because they want to make money.
Yeah, it has been tough, to be honest. Both of my sales reps are very enthusiastic. They want to go and obviously do the best that they possibly can. And the number one thing that I've really drilled into them is some of the best jobs that you do are the ones that you don't do. You walk away from problems, you walk away from people that give you the red flags, and you're going to be better off in the long run. You don't want to work with every single person you come into contact with. And it's been tough. I think I've disappointed each of my guys at least once by, walking in with them and saying, hey, I don't think we're going to be the right fit for you. Thank you for your time, and getting the heck out of there. Both of my guys have really started to understand the value in working with the perfect clients that we want to find are the ones that are going to provide more benefit, and, getting rid of those that are just looking for the cheapest price. There are probably 10 million house flippers in town, and right. I'm not interested in that because there's no opportunity. I told my sales rep the other day, if you want to pay $500 or $600 out of pocket for the opportunity to do that roof, that's on you, but you're not going to be around very long. So let's not focus on that. Let's focus on those that want our service, that understand the value that we bring to the table, and know exactly why we are the best option, which is because we're not the cheapest.
I'm going to check the comments here, but before I do, I'm going to give you a question to answer while I'm looking through them. We talk about bad customers or people that we should have walked away from that end up costing us more than we made, and maybe costing us multiple times more than what we made. Does one of those customers come to mind for you? Can you think of a scenario where you wish you would have walked away? Maybe talk about that for a second while I'm looking at these comments.
Yes, I can.
Okay,
I met a very nice old lady, and this was in Calvert, Texas, which is a very small community. I had done probably 15 or 20 roofs in Calvert at that point. I knew just about everybody in town on a first name basis, and a very trusted client referred me to this nice lady. Everything was going very well. She didn't need a roof. She wanted to get a new roof. So I got her on a very high-end Certainty carriage house shingle that matched her next door neighbor. She wanted to have a better roof than her neighbor. That was her sole purpose in buying. Looking back, I probably should have realized at that point that there was something maybe a little bit off, but we went through, we did the deal. She had some specific things on there that we were not going to do. And at the end of the project, she changed her mind and decided that I should have done all of these things. And she wasn't going to pay based on the fact that I didn't, you know, replace her gutters and I didn't do her flat roof. And it ended up, it was a $45,000 roof. I made no money on it. I did not get a single penny of commission. I had to go to 3 different courtrooms to testify. And at the end, she lost because we had everything in writing. But if I could go back, I probably would have turned that one down. But in the moment, it was a huge high-end shingle. It was a signature job for me. And, you know, it bit me. But if I could go back, I would definitely not have taken that one.
Did you have any red alerts or any warning bells before you did the deal?
Nothing. She was a sweetheart. We talked on the phone once or twice a week as the shingles were being ordered, and I told her it was going to be a couple weeks. Stayed in touch, stopped by and chatted with her. I don't know where it went south, but at some point she just changed her mind about things and became problematic with me. And, you know, like I said, I wish that I hadn't done that deal, but there was really nothing that led me to believe that it was going to happen that way until it happened.
So now when you're working with your guys, because you've been through enough of these kind of scenarios, what are some of the red flags that you teach your guys about? You know, when they're out selling, what are red flags for you, Chuck?
Well, red flags for me is, number one, if someone starts talking about bad experiences they've had with other contractors, or if they start telling you about lawsuits that they've been involved with, immediately get out. We don't want any part of that, you know. If someone has questions that are unrealistic, you know, I want you to guarantee that you're not going to have any nails on my yard when this is over. I want you to guarantee this. I want you to guarantee that. Obviously, we've all been in this long enough to know that there are no guarantees. Right. We're going to do our best. We're going to, you know, take care of your property. We're going to do what we can. But, you know, if you want me to guarantee in writing that you're going to have 0 nails in your property, you're probably going to be a problem customer at some point, just based on that. Mm-hmm. So those details, people that have, you know, pages and pages of notes with specific questions that maybe don't make a lot of sense to anyone that knows about roofing, I tend to walk away from those at this point too. Yeah.
Okay, Chuck. So, God, man, we got a lot of people watching. Joseph Kozel wants to know, will you eat his deductible?
Absolutely not.
Not even for JoJo?
I'm sure he's got a pretty good deductible. I have no interest in eating that one.
JoJo's got a big old house, swimming pool. He's the king of the world, man. That dude can afford his deductible.
That's a deductible that I want for sure. The short answer to that is absolutely not. I will not eat a deductible. I never have in my career. I'm very proud of that. I've gone up against a lot of companies that are willing to do the free roof.
So what's the secret? What's the secret? I mean, you're dealing with guys like JoJo. They got money, right? They got deep pockets. They could write a check right now for that deductible and not even miss it. So what's your secret for getting the deductible, Chuck?
Well,
how do you teach your guys? Guys, listen, this is how you get the deductible.
Absolutely. We're gonna do the experience again. You're not going to get an experience from a deductible eater. The saying I always like to use is, you know, if you're driving home from work one afternoon, you see a couch on the side of the road that says free. Are you going to take the free couch and put it in your living room and be proud of it? And 99 times out of 100, the answer is no, because it's garbage. And to me, it equates the same way in roofing. There's no such thing as a free roof. If we devalue your property, we're doing you a huge disservice. If we're cutting corners, if we're using cheaper products, and I always focus on letting my homeowners know that most of our claims end up being a little bit undervalued, and we do supplements on them. So would you rather maximize the amount that you're paying, or would you rather get something free and know that it's going to be trash? And I've had a few that I've walked away that didn't care about it being trash, but over my career, the vast majority of the people I've been blessed to work with have been understanding, and they say, hey, we want to work with someone that's doing it legitimately. We don't want to take this money out of the value of our home or the product. And we know that if you do that, you can't put the best system on. So we just sell quality, we sell value, and we sell the experience of working with Rio Blanco and, you know, what we're going to do if you ever need us.
So that's how you train your guys?
Yeah, pretty much. My guys know that if any of them ever comes back and says this guy's not paying a deductible, that they're not going to work here anymore. So
Chuck, let's take 100 people.
Negotiable.
100 people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Out of 100 people, you probably got 5, 10, maybe 20 that are never going to pay their deductible. And then on the other end, you got 5, 10, maybe 20 that are going to insist on paying their deductible.
Absolutely.
But those, 70, 80 people in between that could go one way or the other. Do you think you've ever taken somebody that was in the middle and wasn't sure about it? They've talked to somebody else and you've moved them to paying their deductible?
I've taken people as recently as just the past couple weeks that have insisted that they're not going to pay their deductible, and I've moved them over to being happy to pay for it and paying for upgrades on top of it. To me, education is crucial. And the thing that I've noticed in our industry is a lot of people can't educate homeowners properly as to why it's in their best interest to pay the deductible. So
Are you talking about threatening them with turning them into the state? What do you mean by educating? Because I think this is a bone that I have to pick. Everybody wants to talk about legislation and regulation and investigation and intimidation. And I've found that those things rarely work to change human behavior. People don't necessarily change their behavior based on what they're being intimidated into doing. They change their behavior based on something they want. And it sounds like you're moving people towards what they want. So what is it that they're wanting? How are you moving those people? How are you training your guys to move those people? I'm digging deep on this because this is an important topic.
this is huge. Yeah. I want people to know, first and foremost, I've never threatened anybody. I've never told anyone that I'm going to turn them in if they decide to go with XYZ that's going to eat their deductible. I just let them know, hey, first and foremost, this is the law. If you're working with somebody who right up front tells you they're willing to break the law without even doing any work on your property, what are they willing to do to your property? If you're
Right.
a complete stranger and their pitch is, hey, let's break the law together, that's no good. I think that most people want to do what's right. You're always going to find that little section of society that doesn't care and is just looking for whatever they can get. But when we educate our customers, I basically explain to them, hey, look, this is what you agreed with when you signed up for your insurance policy. You're basically going to get a roof for pennies on the dollar, and it's your home. If you take pride in your home, you don't want to do something that's going to devalue it. You don't want to have to replace your roof 2 or 3 years down the road when you could put it on correctly and, get another 15 or 20 years out of it. So education's crucial. We never threaten anybody. We just basically sit down. The first question I love to ask any homeowner is, have you ever been through this process? Does it make sense? Has anybody explained it to you?
Is that an important question?
Well, because most people never have. And most people are under the assumption that, this first check is all I might be getting. I have to put my job out for bids and I have to do it within the parameters of the ACV here. And, oh my gosh, my insurance didn't give me enough money to even do a remotely decent job. How am I going to get a quality job? And you explain it to them and you can literally see the light switch flip and you can see the look on their face completely change. And, I'm a huge body language guy. You see somebody that's, got their guard up and they start to let it down because you build credibility throughout. Next thing you know, they can't write that deductible check fast enough for you.
Oh man, that's cool. And that's how you train your guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We do role playing in here. Obviously I do a lot of sales training. We do, advanced sales training. I've got some of the best platforms on the face of the earth to teach my guys, but we do real world scenarios. We sit in our sales office and I'll just have one of my salesmen do a presentation for me or do one for the other salesman. And then we break it down and say, okay, what was good, what was bad, what do we need to improve upon? And once they get that, then you craft it into your own deal and it's very natural. You can walk in and explain everything front to back without much effort and people can really understand it.
Chuckla, let me check the messages here, see if we got anything. And if not, I got another. Al Cannon wants to know, is your drone still in the lake?
My drone's still in the lake, Al. It's still in the lake, man. One day I'll go back and scuba dive that thing out.
Let's talk about this drone stuff because the insurance companies have moved to drone inspections or third-party inspections. I mean, more and more we're finding that the insurance adjusters are not actually getting on the roof with you. It's somebody else. It's a third party or it's nobody at all getting on the roof. What are you seeing in San Antonio, and how are you dealing with that?
I've been very lucky here in San Antonio. Every adjustment I've been on has been a live person that has gotten on the roof with us. When I was in College Station, it was starting to gear towards those drone inspections, and the ladder assist companies would come out. And I don't like the direction that that's going, because in most cases, it's someone that really doesn't have any idea what they're doing. They're given a specific checklist and, take a picture of this, take a picture of this, and we're going to send it to somebody in a faraway land to observe, and didn't have a lot of success with those, to be honest. San Antonio thus far has been great, because every claim we've actually had a live adjuster. We've been developing relationships with them here locally. So it's been good. I think that it's probably going to continue to gear more towards the drones and, the liability issues of adjusters getting up there is a huge concern, I guess.
Sure.
So we'll see.
Do you think the adjusters should be held personally liable if they write a claim that's knowingly not full boat?
I think if they write one that's knowingly and they intentionally devalue something, that yes, there should be some accountability on that. And it's an interesting conversation. One of my sales reps is a licensed adjuster, and he's worked in 18 different states. So we have these conversations regularly in-house. And I do think that in some cases, an adjuster, whether knowingly or willingly going out there, they leave a lot of things off, or they're instructed to maybe not quite be as thorough as they could be on certain things. So it's a slippery slope. I do think there should be some personal accountability. If someone's been in the industry for 15, 20 years and they go out and knowingly do something like that, but with the lack of experience a lot of them have nowadays, it's kind of hard to pin that on them as well.
That's true. It's almost like the industry wants to hire people that are clueless.
Yeah, that's those ones are very easy to control. And I've actually had ladder assist guys that didn't understand the basic concept of drip edge.
Sure.
And those are the guys that you're putting out on a roof to assess the damage and work in the best interest of the homeowner. Doesn't always end up that way.
Chuck, what's your opinion on the move to more litigation in the industry, to hiring PAs, hiring lawyers? What's your, going to appraisal more often? Where are you at on all of this stuff, man?
Well, personally, I'd rather just build a good relationship with somebody and work it out together. I've been pretty good at building those relationships with local adjusters and insurance carriers. I've only had to take one to appraisal my entire career. We did win because it was more of a personal issue that the adjuster had with not myself, but a guy that was there with me that was one of my colleagues. And it was definitely a personal issue, but I see a lot of companies are going that way, and a lot of people are educating the homeowners right up front. Hey, if this doesn't go our way, we can sue. If this doesn't go our way, we can take it to appraisal. I'd always like to try and, rectify any situation before it got to that, because at that point it just becomes messy for everybody involved. And I think honestly, we can all agree somewhere in the middle is where we want to be with each other, and we should all be working for the common good of our clients. So I don't like it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you there. Money loves speed, and anytime you slow the money down, which is exactly what they want to do, they want to slow the money down. Slow the money down, you slow the profits down, you slow the cash flow down, you slow your ability down to make money. So whenever possible, I like to go fast, for sure. As fast as possible, but not faster than you need to. All right, so got a few minutes left here, Chuck. I got one more question for you, and then I'm gonna let you freelance here for a second. What's your secret to recruiting salespeople?
Well, this is something I've been working on a lot here lately, and basically, I'm looking for people that stand out. The two guys I have right now, both are stellar, and I knew immediately that they would be good at what we do. I meet people all throughout the course of the day. I give my card to a lot of people and offer them the opportunity. But what I look for is enthusiasm. You can't teach enthusiasm. That's just something that people have or don't have. I think roofing sales in general can be taught to anybody willing to learn. But I want someone that's upbeat, that's happy, that's saying hello to people, smiling. And with that, I think you can basically build just about anything you want.
So you're going for attitude.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
have a very fun environment here at Rio Blanco. We all get along well. We joke around with each other. But at the end of the day, I've got a great team. We all know that we're here for a common goal. We're all willing to help each other. And, you know, we joke a lot. It's fun. We like coming to work.
Mm-hmm.
I had a sales meeting yesterday morning on Sunday at 8 a.m. You know,
And
it's
did your
hard to
guys
get
show
guys
up?
to come in. Yeah, hard to get guys to come in on Sunday at 8 a.m. But I was the last one in the building yesterday.
No, that's crazy, man.
Yep.
All right. Here's the last thing. I'll just let you freelance a little bit. We got more people on here. Matt Andrews says appraisal is a mess. It's not what it's cracked up to be, for sure. Lots of good people on here. Everybody, thank you for sticking around. I got one more question for Chuck, and then we're going to close this one up. Chuck, I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you. This is great, Mike. I always like talking with you. You've been a key figure in my career for as long as I've known, and I consider you to be a true friend of mine. So this is a great honor.
Okay, here it is, Chuck. You left a job where you're a multi-million-dollar a year producer. You're banging big checks, and you decided to take a leap. In my training, one of the things that I always focus on is how to get guys to the next level, how to get them to level up. I have a program called RCO Growth Kit. You've been through some of that training that we've done with yourself and the guys at ASAP, the branch managers there. But how did you find it in yourself, man, to make that leap? You jumped from six figures to basically opening a shop in one of the hardest markets in America, and you just leaped at it. How'd you do that?
Self-belief is number one. I have always in my heart believed that this is what I was put on this earth to do. I love every bit of the challenge, getting up every morning and not knowing for sure what's going to happen. When I came to San Antonio 6 months ago, this was an empty building and I was the only guy here. I visited San Antonio one time in my life for one day. And, you know, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody's going to believe in you. So I've always had that belief that I could do it. And I just wanted a challenge. This has been the most rewarding 6 months of my entire life.
Wow.
The opportunity I have is far and away the greatest thing that's ever been given to me here at Rio Blanco. And I think we're just getting started, but you know, you have to be a little crazy too, I guess. And I guess I fit the bill. Most people would tell you that.
So if there's a guy watching this right now and he's thinking, man, I really need to leap to the next level. I need to, I can't stay here any longer. I'm about to die. And I think I know your position before you left, but what do you say to that guy?
Do it. You know, life's too short. If you stay somewhere that you're miserable, it's going to multiply. You're going to hate getting out of bed every morning. You're going to hate going to work. It's going to feel like a job and it's going to feel laborious. I do not feel like I have a job right now. I feel like I am blessed to be here. I've got a team that I get to work with every day. We get to go out and help people. The client that we're working with right now, like I said, is a repeat customer. I was over there about an hour before our video chat today, and he thanked me very, very much, shook my hand, told me how much it was, an honor to work with such a good company. The previous job we did was stellar. We were far and away the most expensive guy that he's gotten quotes from, and this is the second case for that. But he said, hey, man, you stuck to your guns. You believe in your company. You believe in your crew. You believe in everything that you're doing, and you exude that belief. So to me, belief is the key to everything.
That's a really important key when I asked you about recruiting salespeople. You can't look a guy in the eye and ask him to believe in your dream if you don't believe in your dream yourself.
Absolutely.
If you don't throw yourself out there, if you don't make the investment of your time, your money, and your energy, if you're not sacrificing, if you're not pulling out all the stops to make it happen, it's going to be impossible for you to grow, because you can't grow on your own. You're going to hit the same window over and over again. You're going to hit up against the same obstacles over and over again. You can't grow until you decide to take a leap. And Chuck, Man, you are my hero. You are the biggest leaper I know. Dude, I'm so proud of you, man. Thank you for letting me interview you today.
Mike, thank you. I appreciate it very much. And everybody that stayed and watched this and everybody that had questions, thank you guys. It is an honor to be a part of this group. And my messenger is always open. If there's ever anything I can do for anybody, that's what we're here for. We're all here to help each other. And I couldn't be more proud just to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Chuck Allen. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Mike.
Have a good night,
Appreciate
folks.